Welcome back to the Student Hub Live. This session is all about staying well and studying well. And we're going to focus on the concept of well-being and how positive well-being can help you to study. So I'm joined by Mychelle and Emma. Now, Emma is a lecturer in law at the Open University when she's not here, and her research focuses on the role of emotions and well-being in legal education. And Mychelle is the head of student experience for the undergraduate business programme, and you've had more than 20 years experience working with students from all different backgrounds and ages, so you should know a lot. You're also a part-time OU student, so you'll be able to identify with various things going on. Now, some students have had exams today. In fact, we've got some exams on campus, haven't we, for those lucky students who want to be here. And Helen was saying that she wasn't having a great day before. But this session, we're going to really sort of take the focus in terms of how we can try and stay on top of how we're feeling about things. We've asked you at home to let us know what makes you happy, what are your hobbies, how are you feeling right now, how stressed are you about your studies, how are you going to stay connected, and then have you enjoyed this event, because that will be the end of this morning's programme. Now, with these Wordles, where there are 3 boxes, we need you to put 3 things in, otherwise the results won't submit. So if you can only think of 1 or 2, that is fine, but just put a full stop in so that your results can send, and then you can see what everyone else says at home. The multi-choice questions, again, just click on the option that applies to you. Now, Kath and Beth are manning our chat and are in the studio, so hello. How is everyone at home?
Everyone's doing okay. We've got a slight spike of panic from Hayley, who says, how do I not panic over the content I'm reading and making sure you're being concise and writing notes on the important bits?
Oh, Hayley, it is a worry, but listen, it's before module starts and all of this stuff is going to come. You've got plenty of time. You shouldn't even be doing anything on the module right now. You should be chilling out and watching Student Hub Live and thinking about your note-taking. But in all seriousness, it is something that develops. And as Matt said before, I don't know if you were here to watch the earlier session, level 1 is the time to make loads and loads of mistakes and to work slowly and methodically through the skills that are all embedded there. So you're not expected to all of a sudden become a genius. So please don't worry, don't stress about it. You know, it's all about enjoying the experience and learning. So I do hope that helps, but I do understand as well that it is normal to feel a bit anxious, especially when we're showing you all these amazing mind maps and people can sort of say, oh, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. Pen and paper are fine. Thinking is fine. It's just about taking your own time and finding your own space. Would you agree, ladies?
Definitely,
Yes.
yeah. I think that's really important, and I think it is important to emphasise that it is natural to feel anxious and maybe a bit stressed and worried before a module, before you've got an assignment due. All those times, it's perfectly normal. And actually, having that bit of stress actually gives you that motivation to get on and do the study and pick up your books, pick up your laptop and do that. So it's not always a bad thing to feel like that, actually. It's just making sure you keep on top of it and manage it and make sure you're kind of balancing out what you're doing.
Because when you get to that graduation at the end, it is a massive commitment. It is an amazing thing that people are doing. They'll learn so much throughout this journey. And there is assessment. There are often exams or end of module assessments. And like you say, those can be anxiety provoking, and so they should be, because they're important. So it's about recognising, I guess, when worry is okay and when worry is not okay. So what would we say the difference is between mental health and what do we mean by well-being?
Well, I think a lot of people associate, when you talk about well-being, the idea of maybe having a mental health condition like anxiety or depression that's been medically diagnosed. But actually, you could have a mental health condition and have great levels of well-being because you manage it well, you balance out what you're doing, you do exercise, you have a good diet, all those things. Equally, you could have no mental health condition that's diagnosed or anything like that, but actually your well-being could be quite poor because you're not looking after yourself, you're letting things get on top of you, you're not coping great with what's happening. So well-being is important to everybody, and when you're studying, what happens with your studies will impact your well-being, what happens with your well-being will impact your studies. So it's really important to just keep an eye on how you're feeling, keep an eye on how much you're worrying, really think about how you can work practically to kind of keep everything in balance.
Okay. Now, we asked everyone at home how stressed they're feeling about their studies. Let's see what you had to say.
Well, it looks like everyone's excited, and some people are quite anxious about their studies, so it's quite mixed at the minute in the chat.
Is it?
Yeah.
If you'd like to say any more in the chat about what those anxieties are, please do feel free. Obviously, it's an open space, so do be mindful about disclosing anything. But if there's something you're worried about, do ask, because Kath and Beth work in our student support team and they've heard so many similar sorts of things before, so they can answer any questions that you've got and also give you tips and advice for things that may be quite quick and easy to sort out. Now, I see so much stuff about wellbeing, and in particular at the OU, and I'm mainly working at home, and you think, oh yeah, it's all very well and good, these people who've got these time to go on these yoga courses and this, that and the other. Sometimes I feel it's really hard, in particular when you're stressed, to do something that I know might be good for me, but I don't often have time to do it. So how can people actually maintain a positive wellbeing, especially if they're stressed and all of a sudden they've got these hours of the week of study to fill?
I think first and foremost it's about being gentle with yourself, and it's about accepting that there'll be really difficult times and that there'll be times where you can celebrate.
Yeah.
So even when we looked at the diagram that you just showed us, we had a whole range of emotions on today, and even within a day you can have a whole range of emotions. So I think it's about, in the first instance, being gentle with yourself, and then also thinking about what is best for me. We're all different. So if you start with the starting point, what is best for me? And most people we talk to in the first instance say, how am I going to manage my time? So in the first instance, I think as a student, look at your module, look across the module, identify when you need to do what, but put it in your diary a couple of weeks earlier. So you're not waiting, oh, it's due today, you know ahead of time. And even consider about how you can break down bigger tasks into smaller tasks. And I think just coming back to that, be gentle with yourself. So if you are getting stressed out, and my cousin just told me the other day, I thought this was a great tip, 5, 4, 3, I hadn't heard this before, but if you get really worried, stop yourself. Say, right, what are 5 things I can see? I can see Karen, I can see the balls, I can see the pencils, I can see the table, I can see the sofa. What are 4 things you can hear? I can hear a little bit of noise in the background, I can hear the typing over here, I can hear, I'll pretend that Emma's scratching. What are 4 things you can hear? And then what are 3 things you can touch? And that just stops you.
Yeah.
And it just breaks that pattern of worry. And then you can come back and focus on what you're working on. So I really like that 5-4-3 technique.
Yeah. And I think the thing is, it doesn't have to be about having a big hobby. Now, it might be like I like trampolining, Mychelle likes ice skating. So it might be that you have a particular hobby, and if so, that's really important to keep that up. But equally, if you break down your study into those little chunks and you give yourself those little incentives, so you say, right, I'm going to do half an hour, then I'm going to have a cup of tea, or I'm going to treat myself to a chocolate bar, or I'll get this done, can watch my favourite TV programme tonight. So all those little bits you can just build into your day that just make it a better experience when you're studying.
And so it's knowing what makes you happy, is it?
Oh, I think definitely knowing what makes you happy, and everything in moderation.
Yeah.
So study in moderation, eat in moderation, exercise in moderation. Find something that makes you happy. And Emma was just saying about taking breaks. I get so entrenched in my studies, and that's unhealthy. So I have this little bell here. I don't know whether viewers can see this little bell, but it's actually a service bell. And so if I need a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, I'll ding that, and my loving husband does come and say, "Oh, what
now
can I
that
get
is
you for?"
delegation, Mychelle. I heard.
Or I might.
How have you managed to do that?
I have a lovely husband, but maybe this, friends or family or someone who can help you, or set a timer for yourself so that every hour you're getting up, you're walking around, you're taking your eyes off your screen, your eyes off your book. And finally, just like to say, get your eyes tested, because I had not done that for a couple of years, got a new prescription about a month ago, and it's made such a difference to my reading my books. Yeah. So if our students haven't had their eyes tested in a while, get the right glasses for you now, and will really help your studies.
Yeah, and getting things set up. Now, ice skating and trampolining are time-consuming and different hobbies. Let's see what everyone at home likes doing for fun. So what's your hobbies? Reading, which is very handy as a big one in the lead.
Mostly just, someone's rewarding themselves with Pandora bracelets every time they get a chunk of reading.
Wow!
I'm not sure if I prefer that over the tea. Someone else commented my other half would go nuts if I had a service bell. So. Maybe different courses.
Everything in moderation.
Yes, everything in moderation. But yeah, a lot of people are just feeling a lot of people are just kind of feeling the pressure and not quite focusing it on their hobbies. They're all kind of very focused on the studies, and we're saying, it hasn't started yet. Give yourself time. You can just skim through stuff. Don't overwhelm yourself by thinking you have to learn the entire thing right now.
That's a brilliant point, actually, because, very often there's so much content in there. And as Matt was saying earlier, you're often having these skills and content, and you don't need to know it all, you don't need to remember it all, and you can go back to it because often it's in a book or it's in a place, and if you take notes, even better, because then you'll be able to find it.
There were some great note-taking techniques earlier, and someone was saying to us, well, you really need a handwriting course, don't you? So it is about figuring out what the best note-taking is for you.
Yeah.
And I think sorting out your time, please, I would say to everyone, build in time for something fun or nice or a break from studying, because studying can be hard and it can be lonely.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what makes everyone happy, because perhaps that's an easier thing to think about than hobbies when things are stressful. So what makes you happy?
Oh, look at that, friends right in the
friends
middle,
and
love
family.
it.
I saw my dog right
Yeah.
Wine.
Oh, look at that. And chocolate, well, I'm a chocolate lover. Yeah. There we go. I'm not seeing much baking on there. I find baking to be a really good, because it's quite vigorous. If you're beating, you're beating the eggs and the butter and sugar and so forth, it's quite a good hobby to have too. And you have to follow a recipe, takes your mind off things.
Well, baking was a hobby on the other one, so I think we've got a difference between
Oh,
a hobby
hobbies
and
and
a
making happiness. My
Yeah.
apologies, yes.
But a lot of these things, pizza, okay, good. A lot of these things are very easy and accessible to be able to do. But equally, what I'm very mindful of is that sometimes things like family, children, other people sometimes can suffer because of studying, because there's a limited time that we will have in a day, as we know. But sometimes having those meaningful moments with people, it doesn't have to be a long time necessarily, perhaps not with the bell, but a 5-minute conversation with your husband might go a long way.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And I think it's about kind of bringing the people around you along with you a little bit. So they might not have any knowledge or particular interest in that particular topic you're studying, but you can probably have a chat to them about it. They're probably going to be sympathetic about the fact it's taking up your time, and just sort of get them there as your support network. So I've had some students, and they've had children, and they've got their children doing their homework, and they've sat with their children, they've had their laptop out, and they've been doing their work together, and it's showing a great example for their kids that you can do this at any age. So it's kind of draw on the friends and family around you and get them involved in your journey as much as you can, because it's great to have some support out there.
No, it really, really, really is important. Although there's a bit of mixed feelings about whether the bell's a good idea. Nicola says she absolutely loves the bell and has to get one. Hayley says, oh, waiter. Claire loves the bell also. But Christopher, he says he doesn't need a bell because he just shouts. And then all of a sudden, tea comes. So you see, you don't need to necessarily invest in these high-tech gadgets. But you've got other things here as well that you're using, which I see are non-dog related products.
Well, should I pass Mog over to Emma, because I know Emma loves Mog.
Yeah, I do. I do love Mog, and this was our kind of proxy because we both have pets.
Cats.
We're both, well, I have a dog and 3 cats, and you're a cat.
2 cats,
aren't you? And they're a great stress reliever, actually. Just having them round, and they sit on your lap and pester you when you're trying to work. But it's really nice to have them there and give them a stroke and a fuss, and it can be quite relaxing.
We have a colleague who actually volunteers at the animal shelter, and part of that entails walking the dogs and playing with the cats. So if you don't have your own pet, you can actually for free still engage with animals, and that's a great therapy, a great hobby. And it's also good for the animals too.
No, absolutely. Releases instant oxytocin, doesn't it, stroking a cat? So it's a good thing.
Shall I bring out the worry monster?
Yes,
It keeps
bring out
falling
the
down
worry.
the poem.
I know, exactly.
This is one of my favourite things. It's the worry monster, designed for kids. And the idea is that if your children have a worry, so all of us have worries at all ages, you write the worry down, you put it inside the worry monster's mouth, and then overnight the worry monster eats your worry. And when you wake up, when the kid wakes up, it's gone. So the parent's taking it out. But I actually think symbolically it works really well for students too. So you can put your worries in here. And what we've done is we've asked some students to put worries in here. So we're just going to grab one of the worries out and see what it says. Oh, you're looking nervous. I wouldn't be worried. This is
I wouldn't be worried. The irony.
Well, there is one in here somewhere that says, should I worry? We'll come back to that. But here someone says, I will worry that I will neglect my family and not be a good mum due to my study workload. Well, you're a mum, Emma, and Karen, you're mums. You both study. What do you think about that?
I do. I don't think it's just mums, to be honest. I think any parents, dads too, can feel like that sometimes about anything you're doing. I've got 3 kids, and you constantly kind of have them on your mind a little bit.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think you can be setting a brilliant example for them and actually be quite inspirational in what you're doing.
So many of my students have said, I'm doing this to show my children it's never too late to start learning. And they sort of see themselves as being really positive role models for their children. However, personally, there's always this guilt, I think, because it's something you're doing for you and it is really hard. And I'm constantly battling because what I try and do is get the wins. You know, I'll say, let me do something really intensive with I do baking. Yeah. So I'll say, let's make some cakes and then I'm going to go off and do this. And so I try to sort of balance those. But I think sometimes that guilt and that balancing is a natural thing. And it's bearing in mind what are my realistic expectations and how might I manage that? Because you can't be everything to all people.
I think there are two things I'd say to that. Again, coming back to be gentle with yourself. You know, to say it is okay. It's okay to have the guilty feelings, but it's also okay to be a student and focus on yourself. And someone said to me once, I have spent my whole life playing the supporting actor, and now it's my time to take the lead role. And I think that's a really nice analogy, is that there are times in life when it's absolutely fair and right that you take the lead role. And if being a student is that lead role and doing something to help you look forward, that's a great idea. Is it okay, Karen, if I grab another worry out of here?
Yes,
I don't know
please.
what we're doing on time.
The worry monster's receiving a lot of love and attention, so that's good.
Oh, someone has said, after listening to some of the induction, I think I have enrolled on too many modules. What do I do? And I think that's a really good question about how many credits people are studying at a time. And any time a student registers on a course, it will say how many hours per week that module requires. So let's say you're on a 60 credit module and it requires 18 hours per week. I would say do a planner. Where are you going to put those 18 hours in per week? So are you going to do 3 hours over 6 days? Are you going to do it solely over the weekend? Be honest with yourself, because you're only hurting yourself if you lie to yourself, but plan out that study. If you do think, oh my goodness, I've signed up for 2 60 credit modules, that's 32 hours per week, I can't fit them in, please ring the student support team as soon as possible and they can help you with your module selection.
Yeah, they are fantastic and they really will help you. And if you've got your tutor allocated, you can talk to them as well, because they've seen lots of students go through it, so they'll be able to give you some good advice.
Kath and Beth, you're at the student support team when you're not here in the studio. What do you think?
I think that's a really good idea. We've had students before who've used those little worry dolls you can get to put under your pillow.
Yes, yeah.
In a similar situation, and definitely, I mean, one of the students here, Hayley, was saying she has a memory dump folder, and anything she finds that really worries her, she's not sure about, she'll put it in there and just leave it and go back to it the next day, and that way the worry is away from her. So I think compartmentalising is a really good idea.
Yeah. One of my colleagues had this brilliant idea, which I keep meaning to do. He has this time in his calendar for worrying.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And he makes a list of everything to worry about in that time. And it's on a Friday afternoon, his worry time, or solving problems and stuff. And I did try it actually once, because then I realised on a Friday afternoon that I didn't really want to worry about all that stuff to actually fill the time. So I didn't need to worry about it. Because it wasn't that important at the time, even though it sort of was anxiety provoking. And I guess really what this worry monster is beautifully doing is sort of containing some of those worries and removing them. Exactly. And sometimes this process of articulating stuff, I mean, actually writing down what am I worried about, can be a really therapeutic thing in itself.
And I also say, ask what's the evidence. So if you say, I am worried I won't get my assignment in on time, well, what's the evidence? Yeah. You know, are you always late in life with things? Okay, then you need to think about how you're going to plan. Yeah. Or if you've never been late in life, well, that's not the worry to have today.
Yeah.
So I think it is asking yourself, what is the evidence for that? If you're worried you're not going to pass, or if you're worried you don't have the time, or you're worried you're upsetting someone, just check yourself. What's the evidence? Yes, there is evidence. I need to do something about it. No, there's no evidence. It's not worth putting my worry onto that.
Because usually there is something you can do. I think the important point is you can kind of take control of this. And if you've got a worry, don't just let it keep going over and over and over again, but actually do something. Write it down. Say, right, I'm going to think about this at this time. I'm going to contact this person to talk about it. I'm going to do this. Think of positive ways you can approach it and do something.
Because some things are worries in their own right, and they're really valid things to worry about. You might not have enough time or money, or something might be stressing you, and that is a worry that is very real, and there's nothing you can do about it. And in that sense, ruminating isn't going to be helpful, and that worry is a real thing. It's a different sort of worry to thinking, how am I going to fit it all in? Because that sort of question deserves a plan and a strategy. Other things might deserve some other form of intervention. And it's about establishing, I guess, which is your whole point about well-being, where the boundary is between things that are either problems or things that we can do to support those natural things that happen in life.
And the last push I would make is about staying connected, which is why I've worn my OU t-shirt today. Be proud that you're an OU student. We have so many great students. We have so many great stories. Get into the forums, get into your tutor group forum, speak to the students in the forums. The tutor group forum is as good as the students make it.
Yeah.
So push each other to be in the forums, talk to each other in your forum. That's like your classroom.
Yeah.
That's where you would sit in a classroom and discuss things and have interesting ideas, interesting conversations. So absolutely use the tutor group forums and help one another.
What are your tips then in terms of managing well-being?
I think the key is just think about the basics. Make sure you are getting enough sleep. Make sure you are having enough to eat and healthy things. Get those in place. Really plan ahead. It's great now because there's a couple of weeks-ish, week and a half till modules start. So actually now you've got a bit of time where instead of worrying about the details of a module, you can actually do your planning and get a study planner there and really start thinking, how's it going to build into my lifestyle? And then it's just about keeping that balance. And part of that is going to be reaching out to people, connecting with other students, keeping planning your study, and just knowing when to actually ask for help from people like the student support team as well.
And people being here already, by watching this and engaging with it, they're connecting with people and also they're making that time to think through some of these issues. And it's lovely having a chat and you know, but actually there's a lot going on here in terms of what people are doing at home, thinking about some of these things, what may and may not work, evaluating things. So whilst it can seem like a great morning in front of the computer with a cup of tea and things, actually there is a lot of foundation work that is really important.
And it's never too late to ask for help. So sometimes a student might think, oh, what's the point of contacting student support? I'm going to fail this module.
Yeah.
It is never too late to ask for help. We might be able to give you an extra study support session. We might be able to help you assessment bank and take the module at a different time. It may well be that you've just gotten behind, or it may well be that you've had a serious medical issue yourself or in your family, or there might be something going on. It's never too late to ask for help, and it's never too bad to ask for help. So I would say definitely your student support team, your tutor, all people willing to help.
Now, one of the points you made earlier is that some stress can be good for you. How do students make good use of that stress, Emma?
I think it is about using it to motivate yourself. Think, right, well, if I'm feeling anxious about this, let me start doing it. Let's get on with it. Let's get it done. The best time management tip I ever heard was if there's something you really don't want to do, do that first. And I think that's if there's something that you're really stressed about, well, do that. Get it out of the way and then reward yourself. So, you know, stress isn't inherently a bad thing. It is just not letting it overwhelm you.
And it helps you do things faster because you've got a bit of adrenaline. People are also talking about using wine and gin and coffee and various other stimulants to get going.
Moderation.
It's moderation. We had a session last night from the sport and fitness team, actually, which will be available on the catch-up soon, all about what's good to eat before and after and during your studies.
Do we have time for one more worry?
One more worry,
One more worry. Let's see what this one says. Will I be able to cope with the workload? I think that's quite a similar one. Sorry, we'll grab one other one out of here.
Got lots of worries.
We do have lots of worries. What if I fail the module? Emma, what do you think about it? What if I fail the module?
The first thing to say is you're not suddenly going to find at the end of the module, oh my goodness, I failed. You know, you're going to know how you're going all the way along. You're going to have lots of check-ins where you find out how you're progressing. So there shouldn't usually be anything that comes as a big shock to you. You will know how you're doing on a module and you will get your feedback from tutors and you'll get support from tutors. Even if the worst comes to the worst and you don't quite hit the grade at the end of the day, there are opportunities to resubmit. You will get support around that. You will get guidance. It's not the end of the road. Okay. No. There are lots of things built in. Basically, at the OU, we really want students to succeed. And, you know, I'm pretty much in awe of our students for everything they do. And so there's always stuff built in to help you. So it's not the end of the road.
No, I failed once at an exam and I'd never failed at anything. And it was this whole thing in my head and I felt devastated when I'd failed. And I thought about it and I thought the reason why, I just had this thing that I wouldn't fail. And actually when I did all that happened was I did it again. And it wasn't the end of the world. And I thought, well, at least I failed something now. That's out the way. I don't ever have to fail something for the first time. And it became a really positive thing. And I've been watching on the OU Facebook page, there's been a lot of support for students because some students do need to resubmit. Sometimes something can happen and you can do a really bad exam, for example. There are things in place that will sort of, like you say, you can resit or you can resubmit an EMA or something like that if it does happen, and there is a lot of support. But equally, sometimes we build these things up because they're a thing without actually thinking, well, what does it mean?
And you're right. We're students. When you start out at the OU, you might not have been a student for 20, 30 years. It's the opportunity to make mistakes. You know, I think that's really important too, is you are learning, you are not expected to know everything, you are a student. So when else in life do we have the opportunity to make mistakes and it's okay?
Yeah.
So make mistakes. That's how you're going to get
and
better.
You will learn from your mistakes. It is all about the process. If you came on a module and you're getting 100% every time, what would you actually be learning from that?
Yeah.
Whereas if you come and there are things you can work on and build on, then that's much better, I think, and it's much more rewarding at the end of the day. Might not always feel like it though, but it is, it really is.
And you'll be so proud, no matter what grades you get, no matter where you end up, you will be so proud. And I think that that's important too, again, coming back to being gentle with yourself and rewarding yourself for the progress that you're making, even if you think it's just little tiny steps.
Oh. Well, Mychelle and Emma, thank you so much for that really, really useful session. The chat room is full of practical support and requests for OU gin glasses. So that's great. Now, we have a programme on next week. We're going to have a bit more on this afternoon, but for freshers next week, our Refreshers orientation event, if you can send us a picture of your cat, dog or study buddy, in particular, I'd love to see Kim's, because she has this problem where the cat is destroying her study and the dog is climbing on her lap, which is a problem because the dog is 27 kilos.
Oh.
So I'd like to see your study buddies. If you can email us a picture of them, either in or out of your study space, or your study space if you don't have a study buddy, and it can be a toy and it can be a bell, to studenthub@open.ac.uk. We'll put those pictures up with any details that you'd like to share with us to welcome you to other students at the Open University on our board next week at our event then. So studenthub@open.ac.uk with your study buddy. Right, we now have a video which was one that we recorded earlier with Simon Bell, which is all about learning online. So hopefully that will give you some advice, but also is a very, very entertaining watch. We're then going to come back where we have a debate about who is responsible for student satisfaction. So join me upstairs after this half-an-hour break for that, and then that will be the end of today's programme. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got feedback, do fill in the form on the website. It's just a very quick open text box to let us know what you'd like to see more of, and if there's anything that you didn't like about today's show, again, any feedback, positive or negative, we'd love to hear from you. The chat room will stay open, so please keep talking to each other, and we'll be back live in half an hour for the debate. We'll see you then.